All right, let's install some oil seals. So you probably can't tell too readily on the video here. I'll see if I can zoom you in here a little bit. You might be able to tell that there's a little bit of a edge here on the crankshaft. That's about 3.5 millimeters below this edge of the crankcase. And you have to get the oil seal installed up over that lip without the seal prolapsing. So we will use this little sleeve right here, slide this over before we put the oil seal in. So I may have mentioned previously that one way that I'm going to achieve that level is to use the crank assembly tool sleeve for the 288, 281, which right here has about a 3.3 to 3.4 millimeter recess. And it fits perfectly over the seal and inside that area there, so I can literally use the bolt here to pull that seal in nice and gently and flush. Once I have it fully seated, I'll just double check the depth before I pull the sleeve back off. And then if necessary, I will use the crank fitting tool from the 257 and 268, 262, I think it is, and with the soft mallet and drive it in that little bit extra that I need. So, be with you in a second after I go get a mallet. All right, we got a mallet, and I should mention that I did inject a little bit more two-stroke oil in on the bearing there, and then afterwards with a Q-tip, I did clean up the sealing surface of the crankcase with some brake cleaner. So what I'm going to do here, let's go ahead and get this set up for you. Let's see, I might actually need to use a block here. Get you situated again. All right, let's see, how's that? All right. So what I'm going to do is grab just a little bit of anaerobic gasket maker. In this case, it's Loctite 518. I'm just going to use a little bit of that. And when I say little, I mean it. Just a little bit. You may not need to do this. And in this case, I have a fairly clean crankcase. But all this is designed to do, you just need to get it wet on the outside. You don't have to rush this. And what you're doing is just coating the sealing surface of this bearing just to get it wet. You don't want a lot. Remove anything on the inside. You don't want anything on the inside of this seal to get into the bearing. So all that's going to do is just fill in any imperfections along the sealing surface that might be, you know, like a thousandth of a millimeter or so. So I'm gonna probably should have done this first before I so I fit this on the sleeve. Should have done that first. So we're going to go through this process one more time, just to make sure that things are just barely wet here. And as I press this in, this sealant will tend to want to come out, so I'm not really too worried about it getting on the bearing. So then I'm just going to go ahead and press that. And just to the point where I'm ready to get it started. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and take that 281, 288 crank assembly tool. Get that seated on there. All right. Are you still there? Okay. Okay. You can see I'm going to have to get another wrench here. All right. So all I'm going to do is hold this top bolt. While I crank down on the assembly tool here. Or on the nut, and that's going to drive that seal down to very close to the proper depth. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and loosen it up. I don't think I got it driven down all the way. As you can tell, I don't have the right tool for the job here. I didn't want to stop the video. get her off. Still not down where we need it to be. Started getting it down, but that wasn't going too good. I didn't have the right tool for the job. So what we're going to do here instead is we're still going to use this same tool. And a nice rubber mallet. To start driving that in till we bottom it out. Okay. Take a pair of calipers. You can see there we're at about 3.3. That's about how far that tool will drive it down. Check it in a couple different spots here. .4, so getting close to 3.5, which is where we wanted to be. 3.2, so it's not quite as deep on this far side here. So I'm gonna tap it just a little more. .6. 3.7. So it's about as close as we're gonna get it. And this tool actually works perfect. I won't have to knock it with a socket at all. So now I'm just going to counterclockwise pull out that sealing collar or fitting tool, and I can tell that I am pretty much right at that lip. Probably could even stand to drive it down a little tiny bit further. So I'm going to use that 257 fitting tool and just give it a couple little love taps there. I'm far enough over the lip where I don't have to worry about it prolapsing anymore. 3.6. That says 3.1. 2.7. 3.1. May have popped it back out a little bit. Go back to our tool here. Yeah, and I think I did. You don't want it to come back too much without that fitting sleeve on it. It's just going to end up prolapsing. 3.1. 3.4. 3.5. 3.6. 3, 3, 3, 3, 5, You really have to watch it though. You can go too far and then you end up pulling the seal out and you got to replace the seal. 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 7, 3, 2, I can go down to about 4. Before it starts getting too close to the bearing, and you don't want it riding right on the bearing. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 5, 3, 6, 3, 4. So it's kind of hard to get a really perfect measurement on this. We're pretty darn close to around 3, 5 all the way around. And it looks like that we have at least met up around the edge of that seal. You just don't want it to be too shallow. I want it over the top of that lip there. 3, 5, 3, 4, 3, 4. There you go, 3, 5. So we were at 3, 4 to 3, 5 all the way around. We're calling it good. That seal is installed. Now on the other side, make it a little bit easier on us. Because we can lie it flat, since the shaft isn't so long on that side. I need to get you a good vantage point here, so we're gonna go back with this. Okay, can you see that? All right. So I'm gonna give it another quick gander to make sure there isn't anything in there in the bearing that I need to worry about. Just gonna clean off some minor junk that I see there. Okay, we're gonna pop in a little more oil. On the bearing. Now I'm going to take a little bit of brake cleaner on a Q-tip. And I just want to get the sealing surface of that crankcase as clean as I can, oil free. Okay, I'll shut you off. We'll wait a little bit here for that brake cleaner to dry. All right, we're back. Now we're just going to repeat this process, only the difference here is that the seal on this side needs to be flush or maybe a 1/2 millimeter recessed, but no more than that. So I'm just going to repeat this same process. Get some sealant. So you could use a Permatex type anaerobic gasket maker as well, instead of the Loctite 518. Actually, the Permatex they make a 518 equivalent. Again, we're just gonna wet down the surface. All right. Same process, just gonna fit it right. That fitting sleeve right over the drive shaft. Get the seal started till we reach the crankcase. So another thing you can get are these fitting tools, or these pressing tools here. So I could still use a pressing tool like this to get it flush using the crank assembly tool, or in this case, this was designed for the same type of oil seal for the 394, 281, 282s, and because the crankcase is the same as the 394, this is gonna come up flush against the crank seal, and I can basically just knock it in place, and it'll drive it flush, and then I can decide from there whether I feel like driving it a little bit further. Looks fairly flush. Could maybe get it a little bit further. All right, now if I want to drive it just a little bit more, get that just a hair below the crankcase plane, and to ensure that I'm getting it down over, fully over that lip of the crankcase, I'll just use this fitting tool from the 257 to drive it down a little bit further. All right, now I can feel it's just a little bit under. I want to tap it on this side a little more. See where we're sitting. .4. 0.2, 0.2, 0.5. Not much of a lip there. 0.1. I gotta bring it down a little more. And I can do it with the 281 crank assembly sleeve as well. Well, actually I can't. As you can tell, it's not deep enough. So we'll keep going with the 257 one, and I just feel like it has to go in a little more. I just don't feel comfortable with it being too flush because it may not be far enough down over the 0.8. Zero 0.6, 0.2, it's a little light on this side, so there, I think I may have leveled it out. Zero 0.6. Not good enough. Zero 0.6, 0.3. Dropped it a little bit. I'm trying to tap it on the near side toward you. I've got about 0.6 on the top side and 0.3 down here. Zero 0.2, 0.5 over there, 0.3. We're awfully close. I probably don't have to go down anymore. All right, pulling the sleeve off, and it does look like I'm up over that lip just fine. So, oil seals are installed.